They ruled as gods among mortals. Their temples clawed at the heavens, their tombs burrowed into eternity. To the world, the pharaohs were the living sons of Ra, divine protectors of Egypt. But beneath the gold, beneath the towering monuments, lies a truth darker than any tomb. These weren't just kings. They were tyrants, conspirators, and executioners. Men and women who rewrote history with blood, erasing their enemies twice, once in life and once in memory. And their secrets still whisper from the desert sand. What if the pharaohs' greatest legacy wasn't their pyramids, but the crimes they buried with them? Blood in the court. Behind the polished walls of Egypt's palaces, life was anything but divine. Court politics were deadly. Alliances shifted like desert winds, and ambition was often settled with poison or blade. Consider Thutmose III. To history, he is remembered as a warrior pharaoh, expanding Egypt's empire. But his rise began in shadows. His stepmother Hatshepsut, a woman who defied tradition to crown herself pharaoh, dared sit on the throne as his equal. For years, Thutmose endured, playing the dutiful heir. But when she died, the vengeance began. Her name was hacked out of walls. Her statues were toppled, her image buried under rubble. To erase her from memory was to kill her again, a second death, more final than the first. But why such fury? In Egypt, to be forgotten was the greatest execution of all. The afterlife depended on your name surviving. Without it, your soul was condemned to wander forever. Hatshepsut's crime wasn't ruling. It was proving a woman could sit on the throne, and for that she had to vanish. But some pharaohs didn't wait for their rivals to die. They made sure death came early. And sometimes the killers lived in their own household. The Boy King's murder. Tutankhamun, the Boy King. The world knows him for the glittering treasures in his tomb, untouched for 3,000 years. But the shine hides a far more sinister story. When his body was scanned, doctors found a fractured skull, shattered ribs, and a crushed leg. His death, long thought natural, may have been anything but. Some evidence suggests Tut was struck violently, assassinated at only 18. Who stood to gain? His closest advisors. Within weeks of his death, one advisor seized power. Another married Tut's widow. The Boy King had barely been laid in the earth before his legacy was stolen. But even Tut's burial itself raises questions. His tomb was small, hastily painted, unlike the grand designs of other pharaohs. Some believe he wasn't meant to be buried there at all, that his death was so sudden, so politically dangerous, that a quick cover-up was the only option. Tutankhamun's tomb, guarded with curses, wasn't just a shrine. It was a crime scene disguised in gold. But not all crimes came from murder. Some came from ideas so dangerous they threatened to erase Egypt itself. The heretic pharaoh. Akhenaten, the pharaoh who broke the gods. For centuries, Egypt worshipped a pantheon: Ra, Osiris, Isis, Horus. But Akhenaten declared them false. He shuttered their temples and forced his people to worship one god alone, Aten, the blazing sun disk. For the first time in history, Egypt flirted with monotheism. But the priests of Amun, stripped of their power and wealth, were waiting. When Akhenaten died, his city, Amarna, was abandoned, his statues smashed, his name chiseled away as if he had never lived. Even his successors refused to claim him. And what of his mysterious queen, Nefertiti? Did she rule beside him or even after him? Her body has never been found. Some whisper she too was erased, a ghost deliberately scrubbed from memory. Akhenaten wasn't just a pharaoh erased from history. He was a warning. Cross the wrong powers, and even a god king can be forgotten. But not everything the pharaohs buried was names. Sometimes it was lives. The price of eternity. The promise of eternity wasn't free. Someone had to pay. When pharaohs were buried, servants and even animals were sometimes killed to join them. Archaeologists have unearthed tombs where lions, dogs, and human attendants were sealed alive, sacrificed to serve in the afterlife. And the pyramids? For centuries they were said to be built by slaves. Today we know it was more complex. Armies of workers taxed into submission, forced into labor for decades. Many died in the dust, their graves anonymous, their blood soaked into the stones. Even the lavish treasures, the gold masks, the alabaster statues, were paid for by grinding taxation that crushed farmers into poverty. For the pharaoh to live forever, countless others had to die, forgotten. The pharaoh's immortality was built on mortal suffering. Every monument was a mountain of corpses, unseen but not forgotten. But what if the pharaohs weren't the ones truly pulling the strings? What if the real rulers of Egypt wore no crowns at all? The shadow rulers. Behind the throne, another power loomed, the priests of Amun. They controlled the temples. They controlled the gold. And most importantly, they controlled the rituals of the afterlife. Without them, even a pharaoh couldn't hope to reach eternity. By the New Kingdom, some historians argue the pharaoh was little more than a puppet. The priests whispered in the shadows, deciding who rose and who was erased. And sometimes their power spilled into open rebellion. In the 21st dynasty, high priests of Amun seized control outright, crowning themselves as rulers. Egypt had become a theocracy in all but name. The pharaoh reduced to a ceremonial figurehead. The pharaoh wasn't Egypt's master. He was its mask. And so, the darkest secret of the pharaohs may be this. They weren't gods at all. They were fragile men and women, clawing for eternity, silencing rivals, rewriting history, desperate to live forever, even as their bones turned to dust. The monuments still stand. The gold still shines. But if you listen closely, you'll hear something darker. The secrets of kings who buried their crimes as carefully as their treasure. The pharaohs are gone, yet their shadows remain. Because history never dies. It just echoes.